I mean, it's a conversation in a coffee line. You're going to hear me say that phrase over and over and over again. The benefit of these trips are the conversations in the coffee line. He didn't have a referral when he came back. It was 3 months later when the kid got traded, and that agent said, "Who do I know?" And I met that guy when we were getting coffee. Let me call him. I mean, my word. He built a business off of that.
In 2010, he had 50% of the first round draft pick.
So that was a great story. I'm glad you shared that one. What other ahas did you guys have?
I like the thinking big piece, how important that is.
Can you,
Elaborate. Tell me more.
Well, for me personally, I've never allowed myself to think big for fear of failure, but to think big in hopes of growing now is definitely at my forefront of my mind, to allow myself to think, I can do this, and to think big.
So what are the other reasons we stop ourselves from thinking big about our businesses? Fear of failure is absolutely a key one. What else?
Fear of success.
Fear of success.
Stuck in habits.
Stuck in habits. Mindset habits. Business habits.
I, for one, didn't know how to think that big. So when I talked to my coach a year ago, to me, thinking big was, I'm building a legacy for my family. I want a cabin in Girdwood paid for, so that when I'm gone, my kids, my grandkids, whatever, can go to this cabin and enjoy whatever. So to me, that was huge, because the reality at the time was I can't obtain this unless I work my tail off for 20 years, whatever. Flying home, that's easy speasy. Now I'm really thinking big, and it amazed me how far my mind could go. And it's a reality. Nothing's impossible. So it's an exercise in your mind as well.
That organizational model chart helps, because that teaches you how to think big. Because you can say, I can draw out a team or a business as big as I want. What are the other reasons we stop ourselves from thinking big?
I think some of us think that if we are that successful, we'll lose our personal life. And we don't feel like we want to pay that kind of price to be successful in just business. We'll lose family and people that sacrifice everything for their business. And I don't know that that's necessarily mutually exclusive. Having a successful business doesn't mean that you've been divorced 3 times and all your kids are
Leave a trail behind you.
Exactly.
Well, look at Kristen Cole. She's super successful, and she has, well, I haven't talked to her personally about it, but from what you hear, she has a lot of family time and quality time.
Yeah, but even Gary Keller talked about that. Everybody talked about how unattainable he is, but he said you'll never hear that from my family. You'll never hear that from my priority.
Right.
And what did he say? He said, y'all are going to think I'm rude, but
Go ahead.
you're not going to be here on my deathbed.
Right.
None of you will be at my side on my deathbed. So the people that will be are the people that get my time. And there are times where it feels rude when you shut your phone and and
He said, many of you tell me I'm unattainable, and you will never hear my family say this word.
I'm embarrassed to say this. I've been here for a long, long time. I didn't get one of those checks just now for anything, for no people brought in. It's connecting. It's like you feel the same thing when you avoid your church for a long time, or you avoid.
I know that feeling.
You feel that same thing. I mean, it's true, and I see it. And I gotta say, I came in here with a pretty hard, heavy attitude this morning. I've got a house on tour, and I'm like, I'm gonna go obligatory because I'm just going through the motions, because that's what it is. But it's a connection deal, and I see everybody here. You guys have been drinking way too much Kool-Aid. And I forgot the recipe, so I
It's a lot of
appreciate
sugar.
this morning.
well, thank you for saying that.
I do.
Yeah, I really appreciate you saying
I
that.
mean, it feels, there's not one of you in here that's been here longer than I have. I mean, that's honest, and I feel bad. And I don't feel bad for myself. I'm not pitying myself, because I
Right.
made choices. But I also know that along the way, I've neglected to grow a business that could be grown huge if I'd have chosen to, but I've chosen not to. And I know that it's only because I haven't plugged in.
Yeah. We're here for you.
I pull my plug out all the time. Is there some way you can keep it plugged in?
Today is the money and the business you're gonna do later.
So were there any, from the group that went to Austin, were there any ahas about Sixth Street?
I don't think so. I don't think anybody saw 6th
What
Street.
is 6th
I don't even know what that is. So here was what I hadn't heard anybody say yet.
Spasmodic.
The one thing. Remember that? How many of you guys heard him talk about?
Well, Amy said it. She said, you know, the one thing I
She did
said.
Exactly.
Right.
What was that? That was huge to me. Tell me more about it.
Share.
I could talk about it, but I would love to hear you guys talk about it. What is the one thing that if you commit and time block to do today will revolutionize and change your business forever?
Lead generation.
There's just one thing. That's it. Now, what Gary said was, because the book, his book is finally coming out in February, The Power of One. And he said, get this. The one thing may be different in different areas of your life, like your personal life or your spiritual life or your, whatever. But in business right now, and many times I think they're actually connected in a lot of ways. And I always go back, I'm going to date myself, but the movie City Slickers with Billy Crystal, I always just picture Curly standing there, and one secret to life is one thing. And that's what it is. There's one, we came back and I had a meeting with Joe yesterday and spoke with Allison, and I just said, guys, here's the deal for me. Here's my one thing, and that's it. Everything else is going to, and be prepared. When you commit to your one thing, what else happens?
Lots of other.
Life gets real messy. Does that make sense? Why is that?
You get busy.
Focus.
Because you're focusing on that one thing.
It works.
Because it works. It generates a lot of high-class problems, right? Like big problems that are good problems, though, because you're focused on the one. Huh?
Champagne problems.
Champagne problems, high-class problems. I like that.
I like that.
Champagne problem. I'm stealing it. I'll give you credit every time I use it. I promise. Copyright
So
Jeff
use it.
Davis. The one thing was just so huge for me at least.
Okay.
Yeah, you found it? I knew you were looking for
So, what is the one thing that by doing it, everything else will either become easier or unnecessary? That was the quote that Gary said. So, what is the one thing? So, you wake up in the morning, what is the one thing? Hold on, my screen just flipped. I know, right? Okay, it's not doing it. That if you do it really, really well, everything else will become easy or unnecessary.
Just comes back to who said it? Focus. Somebody said the word focus, 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 focus. We're so easily distracted, and we can rationalize and justify anything. Oh, I can't do my lead generation today because I have an appraiser that's dying to get a hold of me, and this is super, super important. Now, is anybody saying that those things are not important? Absolutely not. There just has to be a priority. And that one thing, and if you get the one thing, then the thinking big becomes a total possibility.
The thing that always kills me is that I can justify, rationalize not doing it, but if some buyer called me, I got a referral from my other lead generation that I have done, said, you know what, I'm looking at this house, I really am interested, so-and-so referred me, will you come and show this to me, and we're really interested, what would I do? Sorry, I'd go, I'd make time for that, but sometimes I don't allow myself to make the time to make the calls.
Right.
And that just, I kick myself in the butt for that, but sometimes I'm weak, I guess.
I get it. Well, and you're not alone, so, get that. I think
If I
everybody
could
in the
do the
room.
one, I could do the other.
Correct.
I mean, you
And
can't
that's,
go.
but it's a
That's-
mental game. That's where you have to talk yourself through it. And just go, okay, wait a second. I sent a lead one time to an agent, and I said, here's a buyer referral. And he said, okay, I'll call him back later today. I'm lead generating right now.
Like you just got to be.
I said, I'll take that lead back, thank you very much, and go give it to someone who's going to lead generate to the lead. Here's a lead, call it. Call him right now. It didn't make any sense.
I was in class when I was at Keller Williams the first time, and the instructor said,
Double dipper.
I know, right? And the instructor said, if you don't want to lead generate, just think about it this way. Just think about walking home to your wife, your kids, or whatever, and say, I would love to pay for the groceries or the mortgage or the whatever else, but I didn't want to pick up the phone today. And if you can do that and you're comfortable with that, then absolutely you don't need to lead generate. And I'll guarantee you don't ever not lead generate if you think about it that way. And whoever you're accountable to, you don't have to have kids, but whoever you're accountable
Right.
to. If you can walk to them and say, hey, I'm sorry we can't pay the bills because I didn't want to pick up the phone today.
So your dog, you can't give him food?
Yep.
Whoever it is.
I didn't feel like working.
Melanie, were you gonna say something?
I like, my favorite quote that Gary said was when he stood there and said, I am where I am today because I lead generated your butt. That just cracked me up.
That was your first experience hearing Gary
Yeah.
live, and yours too, huh? What did you think?
It was pretty impressive.
I love the fact, I love when he got really passionate and he goes, y'all understand, this is mega. This isn't stupid game. That's down the road. You know, he's like, I am talking to you because I want you to think big. I want you to be as big as you possibly can. That's why it's called mega game. Well, and he also goes and zings you, and you're like, oh, is he talking to her? But he's got
Preacher at church that has your number. They're like, what did you read my diary before I walked in here this morning? Crazy. What other, yeah, go ahead. One of the things that I heard was a listening specialist, and I was actually teaching on this. I stole this and used it in Wasilla yesterday when I was teaching out there. I loved this one. She talked about getting to know. You guys familiar with the book Getting to Yes? I thought this was brilliant. I don't know if you guys appreciated this. She uses what she calls getting to know, and specifically with expired. And so her goal is to line them up with a series of questions when she's connected, when she's got the call, until she converts it. So
Your current agent had, or your previous agent, they had a virtual walkthrough tour available online, correct?
Yes, it is.
Well, typically it's no.
Oh, okay.
So she
Oh,
go you
no, he's
through,
playing along with you.
well, I needed to
Yeah.
resolve that, please.
Wrong answer. Put it on the tee, put it on the tee.
Yeah, you know, it was no, and then she was, okay, well, I'm assuming that they did, and I can't remember the examples that she
Appraisal.
gave, an appraisal, you know, before. Well, no, and I'm assuming that they did such and such, no, well, she's appraisal.
She used
said
appraisal.
appraisal. Regardless, she set the questions up, so the answer was no.
And the response was, so she'd ask a question, so I assume that your previous agent did an appraisal on the property, which is her CMA, and they go, no, and she goes, huh, okay. Well, they obviously had a walkthrough tour online, right? Okay, so I assume, right, and she has all these questions, so that, I mean, it's just going, you know, I really think we need to get out to your house as soon as possible, sit down and talk about what we can offer.
So she's leading them, they self-discover immediately. I mean, I walked away from that going, oh my word, I can totally use this. This is great stuff. And how many times on an expired or a cold call, if you're not face to face, you've lost 70% of your ability to convert, right? Because the nonverbal's gone. So you're down in the game by 70%. So you've got to have every single arsenal, every single tool in your arsenal ready to go to capture and convert. The scripts are a huge one, and if you can get really clear on your scripts, something like that just takes them from point A to point D very, very quickly, that's a huge win. And that was a big aha for me.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That one was good. What else?
I liked it, we took the language of sales during the lunch. And he said, he was talking about, you know, body language, and he said that if you do not have your scripts internalized, you will not be able to pick up the subtleties of the body language.
On the other side.
Because you're gonna be so, okay, thinking about the scripts.
This is one of the reasons why BOLD is so important. Because it is just training and conditioning, practice, 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 practice. You hear it, every person that they put up on stage. And you guys, it wasn't like some of these people were, you know, oh, they do $150 million a year, I can't do it. There were people up there that do $11 million a year. Did you guys see that? There were people that do 15. These are normal people, right? But you could tell every time that they would get led in a dialogue where they would give you their script,
It just jumped
bam,
in.
they just dropped right into it. And that's practice, 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 practice. It's preparation. I mean, you look at, for example, any professional football team, and I've heard that, and I don't know the numbers on it, but there's a statistic that tells you exactly how many minutes players actually touch the football in a game, and it's like nothing. I mean, it's like less than 2 minutes or something.
In professional hockey, they actually put a camera on Mike Madonna, who
Mhm.
keeps the puck more than anybody because he's center, and he had the puck actually maybe 73 seconds for an entire game of 60 minutes, where he's out there for 35
For
shifts.
most of it, yeah.
He's
And
out
how
there
much
for
does he
the rest of it.
practice?
Everything he does is away from the puck.
Absolutely.
And they say that in any sport, they talk about getting open, or getting what they do in space.
Mhm.
Everybody's good with nobody around them, but it's like, how do you get that space?
Mhm.
How do you get to there?
Right.
That's the difference that separates the really,
It's
really
all the
good
preparation and the practice and the training and the conditioning, and it's why you see athletes do what we've talked about for the fourth quarter. It's why you see the fourth quarter hits and you see the number 4 go up on the sideline, because they know that's when training and conditioning and preparation shows up, and that's where you gain the competitive edge. And believe me, you're in a competition. You're in a competition with each other, a healthy competition, but you're in a competition to get your unfair share of the market. Plenty of business there. Who's going to get it? Well, it's the person with the competitive edge. That script, well, may be. When we were teaching yesterday in the Valley on FSBO and expireds, and we're doing it again Wednesday here, it reminded me, and I hadn't read this material in a while, 90% of the competition drops after the first week. Then 70% of what's left drops after the second week. Then 50% of the original competition drops after the third week. It's just who shows up. It's literally a numbers game. Who keeps showing up? And then if you add in the scripts and the preparation, in addition with time on task, man, you guys, it's a no-brainer. You got it.
It is a competition, but our biggest competitor is ourselves.
Absolutely. It's an individual sport. I mean, for sure.
I used to be a
I'm sorry.
very good pool player. I say used to, because I haven't picked up a stick in a long
You
time.
were a good pool player.
I was, thank
Yes,
you.
you were.
And, but in that game, it's very much like real estate. I never had to worry about, like in football, somebody could intercept the ball, you know, or take it away from me in basketball, or so many other, you know, the goalie can block the shot in hockey. But in pool, it's just me
Right.
and the table.
You're
the
your own
balls.
enemy,
You
right.
know, nobody's gonna grab the ball just where it goes in the pocket, you know? It's just me. If I don't make it or whatever, it's all because of me, what I'm doing, and how much time and practice I put in on it.
Exactly. It's a great analogy. What would you, in summation, what would you say, Joe, are your,
Oh, I had a couple others
Go
I
ahead,
wanted to
please.
peek out there. One of them was when you're calling some of your Craigslist leads, approach it like you're an inside sales individual. So this is a courtesy call to ask how we did, how could we have helped you better, what else can we do to help you, why don't we schedule a no cost, no obligation appointment where I can talk to you more about the process. Just a different.
almost a quality control type
Yeah.
stuff?
And then the other one was blogging. That word gives me, I just want to run. So what they talked about is, rather than you being the blogger, you can have somebody else in the community do a blog for you. Or,
Ghostwriter.
what's that?
Ghostwriter.
Not necessarily a ghostwriter, just more so have somebody else on different occasions. You can have different people. So from a different industry, just do a blog, you know, that they throw out there to where it just starts gaining from all different sectors, understanding that it's your website that they're blogging on. Go
I
ahead.
also liked when they were talking about having the sellers do a blog, have the sellers do a blog on where they can actually point out things that we're not allowed to say about, you know, the safety of the neighborhoods and,
Oh, that's
and
the
whatnot.
story.
What?
The storyboard?
Yeah, yeah.
That one
was really cool.
is all the wonderful things about my house,
Yeah.
or about my home. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
in summation, I mean, realistically, I brought it up down there. It's a matter of battling yourself and how big can you be? How big of a life can you lead? I think the big thing about Gary and the fact that we always have this mindset on these big team leaders, you know, being so busy and having no time and unapproachable and anything along those lines. Realistically, if you can figure out leverage, and I think that's the biggest piece, because what does this organization chart do? It shows you all the levels of leverage. If you can get that through your thick skull, I say that because I have one, if you can understand that concept, I mean, it can take you exponentially beyond what you think you can do. I think that was the biggest piece for me.
It was definitely, I would agree, just personally in my own business, I walked away going, I thought I was a big thinker. I thought I was. You know, big vision, big goals, big dreams, and I realized I wasn't even scratching the surface. And when I got challenged to think big and really drill it down, I thought, and my reason for not doing it, because that's why I asked the question, what are the reasons we don't think big? And those are all true: fear of failure, fear of success, we don't know how. I think my reasons was I was embarrassed to say it out loud. I was just embarrassed because I thought it would make me look really, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, is that when Mark Willis nailed you to the wall?
Mm-hmm. That's what she said. 3 times. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 5 years? You still haven't answered my question. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Okay. You know, I better answer. It's very much, so whatever fear, and it doesn't matter, everybody can have a different reason for not thinking big. Here's what I know. Will I ever achieve what my think huge is? Maybe, maybe not. It's really irrelevant, because if I'm putting the bar here, anything I hit from where I am today in there is a huge win. I've just given myself the room to build for my family, and not even for myself, but for my family, whatever it is I want. If I hit goal, you know, that I laid out personally for him, fantastic. If I'm anywhere in between, it's a wonderful life. I just had to stretch my mind. Yeah.
I'm doing the Make the Fun Ring Again fast track coaching, and Coach Korn, Brad Korn, is doing it. And he said one thing that Gary talked about was even he doesn't think big enough. He says he's Keller Williams International. I said, what's going to happen when he puts Keller Williams on other planets?
Yeah.
You know, like Keller Williams Universal or Galactic. Or,
exactly. Don't be afraid to think big. Any last thoughts, and we'll get you guys out on tour, because I know we. Here's my last 2 things. Number 1, guys, take bold. Take it. Okay, there's no excuse. I told you before, if I had 13 leads sitting for you upstairs in my desk, and I said, do you want 13 leads? It'll cost you $800. Every single one of you would be in a line out my door to give me $800 for 13 leads. That's bold. Take it. Number 2, get family reunion on your plan now. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, it's going to be insane. It's going to be awesome. Dave Ramsey's going to be there. I have an inside line on who the inspirational speaker is going to be. We can't announce it yet because it hasn't been signed, sealed, and delivered. It will be amazing. I'm sure we'll get him. Nope, I can't do anything.
Mo will lay the smack down.
Oh yeah. It absolutely will be. I'm on the task force this year along with Matt Dimmick, planning for it. It's a game changer for you. So get those things on your agenda, because they will help you think huge and think big.
Where is it this year?
Dallas, Texas. 30-year reunion, 30-year anniversary. Yep, exactly. Okay, any other thoughts? Guys, go have a great day and go check out Properties on Tour. And thank you, Lane, for being here.